Hi everybody, I'm Trevor Kirczenow, your Liberal candidate in Provencher riding. This is another podcast, but it's a little different this time. I have a guest with me, my friend Star. We have some stuff we really want to talk about tonight. I think starting with gender, right? Mm-hmm. There was something that you really wanted to explain to Pierre Poilievre.
Oh, yes. Okay, first of all, introducing myself. Greetings, all my relations. White Star is my name, and I'm from the Wolf Clan. The language is Anishinaabe or Ojibwe.
Beautiful.
So, when I was growing up, of course, we all learn the same things, it's a girl, it's a boy, we understand what people have in their bodies, and that's the way it is. And through high school and stuff like that, I'd heard of transgender people, but they were always crazy or, other negative things about transgender people. And this was in the 80s, and that was just, there was not a lot of awareness of that. And when I went to university, I went to the University of Manitoba, and one of the easiest courses that I ever took was called Evolution and Human Diversity. And it touched on a lot of just genetic variances in people, and there were whole chapters on sex and gender. So we learned that there is not just XX female, girl, XY male, boy. The category of sex is not binary at all, because in a binary system you cannot have anything but one or the other. Ask any computer program if it's ones and zeros, or is it ones, zeros, and sometimes sevens. The fact that intersex people exist at all proves that sex is not binary. It is bimodal. So you have a lot on one side, a few in the middle, and a lot on the other side. So that blew my mind. So we have XXY Klinefelters male, assigned at birth, who, when they grow, they might end up having breast gynecomastia. And they do the genetic testing. They say, oh, you know what? You just have this genetic variance. And there are so many different variances in just the human condition. And to me, that opened up just this world of possibility. And so some of the exercises that we would do is somebody with androgen insensitivity syndrome would be XY assigned female at birth, because you can't tell externally that this is a male baby because everything looks female. The only differences are on the inside, so you don't know that until they hit puberty and it doesn't happen the way you think. So we would be guessing based on what they call the genotype. What gender would you expect this person to be? But the case studies would say that they were correlated, but only loosely so. So like an XY assigned female at birth can sometimes identify as a boy, even though mostly identifies as a girl, because that's what they're assigned at birth. And it was a loose correlation. It was a relationship, not a direct connection, automatic, this and that. There was no binary whatsoever. And I'm like, huh. And that was in 1993. It was not new science in 1993. It was already out there. It just wasn't in the public consciousness. So I'm like, oh. Well then, transgender people were different now, because they weren't freaks. They weren't mentally ill. They were just different. They were just a variant. This is just a different normal.
And in terms of gender identity,
yeah,
different gender identities have been recognized for a long, long time.
Absolutely. So I ended up getting my anthropology degree. So I studied anthropology and nursing, so I'm very much into the medical geek. I'm very much into science. I'm very much into trying to make sense of people, because people sometimes just don't make sense. So Gender categories. We talk about genders in this way. Sex is between the legs or in the body. Gender is between the ears or in the identity. Edit that. I'm going to reword it. An easy phrase to remember it is sex is in the body, gender is in the mind. So within each culture, there are different gender categories. So for the English, there was only man and woman. That's it. So when colonizers would come, they only had these two options. So if they saw anybody that was different, it was bad. The French, the English, the Spanish, anybody from Europe that was colonizing Turtle Island, they didn't understand what they were seeing if they saw a two-spirit person, if they saw somebody that was not as expected. And they would very much say, well, this is wrong. They made up a word called berdache, which is a slur, to describe people who were two-spirit. And the First Nations themselves have varying numbers of genders. Like, for example, I looked up the Lakota. There's man, woman, and a third gender they call winkte. In Anishinaabemowin, we have a number of different words for different people. We have ikwe for just a normal cisgender heterosexual woman. Inine for cisgender heterosexual man. But we also have agokwe, which is dresses like a woman. Ikwekazo, which is lives as a woman. So that is any person that is not assigned female at birth, but is living as a woman, is Ikwekazo. And in the Cree, it's Iskwekan and Napekan. So we know that pre-contact we already had these identities.
Because it was already in the language.
It's already in the language, and different nations have different numbers of genders. And because that is culturally defined, you might have 3 genders, man, woman, and middle, or non-binary. Or you might have feminine woman, masculine woman, feminine man, and masculine man. Or you might have 5 with one of them being just non-binary in the middle. These are culturally determined, and you can find the cultural identities within the words of the language itself.
Wow.
Colonizers did not have a word for that concept.
No, and the conservatives still don't have a word for that concept.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I saw an interview where Pierre Poilievre was addressing the issue of gender, and he said, "Are there any other genders you want to tell me about?" And I wasn't there that day, but I took it as a personal challenge. So when he came to Winnipeg, I got into his rally, and there was a small crowd there, so I just got right in there where I knew he could hear me. And when he was talking about the Liberals, he was just really hammering the Liberals. He's, in a few days the Liberals are going to pull a fast one, and you can hear my voice saying, "There have always been more than 2 genders in Canada. We are the two-spirit people. We are the Ikwekazo, the Aninikazo, the Winkte, the Iskwekan, the Napekan." And of course, as soon as I started saying that, security came to pull me out. I had 5 police officers.
It is really too bad that he was not able to hear that message.
Oh, he heard it. He heard it.
He didn't learn it.
He heard me. He didn't listen, but it was actually really funny because he was mid-sentence and he stammered for about 30 seconds and he resorted to axe the tax. And it was, which I think was kind of hilarious. It's like, You can't handle the truth of Indigenous people in this country, so you have to go revert to cheap slogans, because you can't handle a very simple concept of we have always been here.
Yeah.
And why does it take 5 police officers and a security guard to escort a disabled, middle-aged Indigenous woman
Who's speaking the truth.
who is speaking the truth? And not only that, but what I was saying was not abusive, it was not threatening. Mm-hmm. It was a simple fact. And that speech is actually protected speech. I was literally exercising my constitutional right. In Canada, and I even said this as I was being escorted out by the police officers, I said, according to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada, I have freedom of expression, meaning specifically, I can make statements about politics as long as they are not abusive, they are not threatening. All it was the simple statement that we've always been here. And my right to speak about my own people in a political situation in a way that is peaceful expression, freedom of expression, denied under the Conservatives. They talk a good game about freedom of expression. They don't practice it. Not at all.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, though. Sorry, I got distracted a minute.
Can we talk about a justice issue?
Yes, we can.
The landfill search, the ongoing landfill search,
is
a really important issue.
It is. It's a very important human rights issue, and it is a very important criminal justice issue. So, if your listeners don't already know, a few years back there was a serial killer by the name of Jeremy Skibicki. He killed 4 women. The last one he killed was Rebecca Contois. She was found first in Brady landfill. And when he was detained, he confessed to killing 3 others. Now, 2 of those women ended up in Prairie Green landfill, which is the opposite side of the city. And that was Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron. And one of the most frustrating and heartbreaking things was they knew in June that there were more victims, but they did not actually tell the families until December, when they broke the news to the whole world. That's how the families found out.
And who's the they that we're talking about?
Winnipeg City Police, and Winnipeg City Police did not come forward and tell the families that their missing loved ones were in a landfill for months. And these families continued to look for their loved ones. And the amount of disrespect and extra pain and trauma caused by that action, it's just beyond words. And then what happened after that is even worse. Because when you have a murder, you search for the victim, you search for the evidence necessary to convict. Well, in June, they spent a few days looking for Rebecca, but they did not spend any time whatsoever looking for Mercedes and Morgan,
who were in the
opposite landfill. Right? No time whatsoever. They said, well, too much time has passed, which is nonsense.
Right. That turned out to be untrue.
Absolutely untrue. Yeah. Prairie Green landfill. Many people won't know this, but Prairie Green landfill is only 4 acres.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
In Toronto, they searched 300 acres for a man. And in fact, one of the landfill searches they've done in the past in Ontario was an international search, because it was on both sides of the international border. I believe it was in Sault Ste. Marie. So they have done extensive landfill searches for people before.
But the Conservatives provincially were saying no, they did not want to
absolutely
spend
the provincial
resources.
the first thing the provincial Conservatives did was they said, oh, it'll be too expensive. That didn't go over very well. Then they did an entire election campaign based on their desire to keep our people in the garbage dump. And it was horrific.
There were billboards.
Huge
There
billboards.
were campaign billboards about not searching the landfill.
Yep. It was basically what matters to you matters to us. We have to say no to this. They said it was unsafe, which is objectively not true. There was a feasibility study that said there are hazards in the landfill, and this is the personal protective equipment that you need to do it.
Right.
So the union that serves Brady landfill, they were all for it. They said, yeah, we can, as employees of landfill, this is able to be done.
Wow.
And they stood against the Conservatives in Manitoba. And it became such a hot button issue. And a lot of people, they frame it as a humanitarian effort, and it is, but it's not just a humanitarian effort. How can anybody be so soft on crime?
Yeah.
Like, since when does a serial killer get to get away with it? Just throw people in the garbage dump and they don't search for the victims. They don't search for the evidence necessary to convict. The Conservatives are supposedly, they brag about being hard on crime. They're not. They're soft. I'm not soft on crime. I want to get in there, get all the evidence to convict, and not let anybody get away with it, because somebody already has.
And you spent months protesting at the Brady landfill.
Yes, 2 years. 2 years before the Prairie Green was searched. And in Brady landfill, we still have to search. I'm really concerned if the Conservatives get in that we won't be able to search Brady, because Skibicki's first murdered, but fourth yet to be found, is Ashley Shingus. And before we knew her identity, we called her Mashkode Bejakikwe, which is Buffalo Woman. She is in Brady landfill, same as Rebecca was. Mm-hmm. They have not searched for her yet, and there's another one. 11 years before Skibicki killed those women, put them in the garbage dump, Sean Lamb did the same thing. He has 3 victims. He is serving for 2 of them, but Tanya Nipanak is in Brady landfill, has been there for more than a decade. People don't even talk about her. The charges, Sean Lamb was not convicted for Tanya because they didn't find a body. They spent a few days looking and dropped it.
And what message does that send?
Well,
we don't look.
Absolutely. Like, I can tell you what message it sent. Sean Lamb killed Tanya Nipanak, put her in the landfill. Nobody got her. He got away with it. And Skibicki even said he did what he did the way he did, like the body disposal method, because Sean got away with it. So what the Conservatives essentially did is they wrote the book on how to get away with murder. All you have to do is you choose an Indigenous woman as a victim and you put them in the garbage. And we're not going to look. That is the Conservative message. They need to be tough on crime.
And fortunately, we have Wabkanu and our federal Liberal government.
Absolutely,
worked together, got the money together that was necessary to actually make the search happen.
Yeah, voting in WAB was a very necessary first step, because he said absolutely not. We're not giving this tacit approval of murder. We're going to go get our women. And federal Liberals said, yeah, we're not doing it either. Equal funding for that search.
Yeah.
You know, and the federal Liberals didn't even question it. When it was on the table, it was like, okay, we're doing it.
Right.
Let's go get our people.
We knew that we needed to work together.
Absolutely.
And as soon as there was a provincial government who was willing, then we could.
Exactly. And not even, and it didn't even need to be the same party. He was like, no, we're getting our people.
Right.
Let's go get them.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Once the feds put in their funding, and it was equally funded between the province and the federal Liberals, plans were put together, and it did take a little while, but the facility within the landfill got built, and it took less than 90 days to find both Morgan and Mercedes. So after 2 years of fighting the Conservatives, it took less than 90 days to find two people. The Liberals made that happen. The Conservatives would never do that. It's clear.
Yeah.
They say the Liberals are soft on crime, and they're lying. When Pierre Poilievre was in Winnipeg, and I went to his rally, he had been asked about the women in the landfill. Mm-hmm. And what he had to say about it was he blamed the Liberals, saying that they had a revolving door crime policy. They had a poor, weak justice system. And it was so ironic. It made me so angry that not only did he not really address the issue of the women, he wasn't focused on the women, right, the safety of the women. He was blaming the party that actually made it happen, that made the search happen. He's trying to pass off the federal Liberal government as being soft on crime. It's the opposite. The Liberals are the one that said, no, you can't do this. You can't leave the people in the garbage. You can't give tacit approval to a serial killer to put our people in the garbage.
Yeah.
The Liberals are the ones that put their foot down.
These women are not garbage.
Absolutely. The message is clear. I don't want Poilievre to get in power, and then if something happens to me, nobody look for me. And that is very much a real possibility with Indigenous people. I have a cousin that's missing right now. And I know what these families go through. And, serving Camp Morgan, the protest camp that's been at Brady Landfill. I mean, you've been there.
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't know me, I was the garbage man. The camp is located at Brady Landfill, but the community did not want any trash to go on the crime scene.
Right.
So I did some looking around and figured out that the closest place to bring any kind of trash from camp was Lebo, Manitoba, which is beyond Selkirk. And so, Trevor, you and your husband brought your truck and your horse trailer. We filled everything up. We filled the whole truck with recycling, and
yeah, I mean, that camp has been running for a long time, and there is trash that is generated, and it cannot go
there was a lot
on top of the crime scene.
Exactly, it was summer, and obviously there was a lot of bottled water because we don't have a nice clean well. So that there was some jugs of water that had to go to recycling. And I really appreciate the fact that I called you up and I said, hey, we have this need, and we don't want this trash to go on the crime scene. It's really important, but it's really far. And you didn't hesitate. You said, yes, absolutely, we will do this.
We all need to do what we can. And
that's rare.
I think a lot of times people don't know what they can do, and we were grateful that you asked.
Yeah.
And that you do ask that so that we know what we can do.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time people might want to help, but they kind of feel like, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of helpless to help. And other people well, I don't want to trouble you. But I mean, I look at what you've done, with your reconciliation work with the Ojibwe horses, and I'm like, well, I'll go ahead and ask. I don't have any shame. I know that this is something that's really important, and either you can help or you can't. And you didn't question. You were just right away yes, I will help Camp Morgan. This is something that I can do, partly just as a human being, but also as reconciliation, you know?
Yeah.
Just commitment to justice, commitment to the well-being of Indigenous people. And we notice that. We notice when people see us.
We have to find ways to work together. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's awkward.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't know what to do. Sometimes we mess up.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to say sorry.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think, you know, there are different people. And you know, Uncle says that we just need to do things in a good way. So, like, I mess up all the time. You're going to mess up. But if we do it in a good way, with a good heart, when we mess up, we can own that, we can apologize, and we can move forward together. And that's always been what I've seen in you.
Some things turn out to be way more complicated than maybe we would have realized to try to get something done, you think.
Yeah. It's often like that. It's often like that. But, you know, just the openness, the willingness to look into it, like, hey, what can we do? The willingness to hear people out and to really see the needs of the people. That's priceless. I appreciate that so much.
Miigwech.
Miigwech. Okay, deep breath, and we'll get back to that other topic. Yeah,
and I feel like there's other issues that Polyev brings up where he does not want Indigenous people to have a say, to have true consent to projects or ownership in projects. Thank you everyone for listening if you got this far, and thank you so much to Star for elaborating on some of this really important stuff. I learned a lot even just right now, even though we've been friends forever. So thank you, and I know that people watching would have learned a ton.
Miigwech. I really appreciate you guys listening and just hearing about our issues. I look forward to the next time we can have a chat.